I have a friend that I brought out. She has a unique perspective, and she's put some pieces together. She's a logistics transportation CEO. She has her own company. I've been there. We've done podcasts from there. So she has a very good insight into the whole trucking. She's about 50% trucking across Canada, into the States. She does air, sea, land. I saw the trophies on your shelf there. Very good. Her name's Dinine, and she wants to talk to you guys about some disturbing information that I never heard. I've never had the inside, and she wants to talk to you now.
Thank you, Paul. Can I get a whoop, whoop? Hi, everyone. My name's Dinine. I am very overwhelmed. What? Oh, we'll start again. Hello, everyone. My name is Dinine. I am very overwhelmed with the commitment and passion that I see today as well. As we talk a bit more and I explain my knowledge and the thoughts of how Canadians will be affected now and increasingly in the future, I speak to you from a perspective of a logistics CEO, but not only that, a mother, a grandmother, and a person who really loves the people of Canada and believes in doing whatever she can to ensure the safety and integrity of humanity. I believe in freedom. I believe in the right to choose and the right to be heard. I know you're all aware of the food shortages that are happening now and what is to come. This will not only affect everyone here, but our children and their children and many generations to come. I hope that anything you will get from what I say today, a better scope of things happening right under our noses and what I see coming. So I'm going to talk to you about different topics, like the transportation of goods, the driver shortages, production issues, material shortages, labor issues, capacity issues, grocery store closures that are happening now and more to come, increased transportation costs that are affecting the food getting into the stores because a lot of the production companies cannot afford to pay the higher costs in transportation, the packaging costs, the empty shelves in the stores, facility shutdowns that you haven't even heard about yet, plant shutdowns across the globe, logistics shortages, and I mean in specialists, the people who actually do the operations and stand and take care of the importing and exporting of our goods in this country. The truck order wait lists, and as truck drivers, you know that there's a 2-year wait list to get a new truck. Parts for the semi-trucks are becoming increasingly harder to get across the globe. We're looking at anywhere from 6 months to 2 years shortages for waiting for those. We're having feed shortages. There's hundreds of recalls, and I'm not sure if you pay attention to the recalls that are happening, but on a daily basis, there's up to 50 recalls of different foods in all the stores, different products. We're having lead levels increase in the products and the stuff you're buying in the store. There's product changes. So what I'm going to tell you is that from what I've done in my investigation, and because I am in logistics, it is clear, and I'm sure you're aware, that we're having food shortages start now. This has been going on for some time now, but there's beef shortages. And when I speak of beef shortages, I mean the plants, and we have 4 major beef producers in Canada, which is JBS, Cargill High River, Tyson Foods, and Olymel. We are dealing with these 4 plants. We've actually had a beef plant close one of their beef facilities down. I do a lot of shipments of beef from High River, Cargill, and if you're a truck driver, I'm sure you've been there and you know of them. Or JBS out of Brooks, Alberta. And on a week, I have a high level of amount of beef that I coordinate, that I ship out. And this is now my 2nd week that I have shipped nothing from Cargill High River. I am shipping from JBS, not shipping anything from Gordon Foods or Tyson's. And Gordon Foods has actually publicly gone out and said that we're having increasing shortages. They have said that the beef, chicken, and I'll tell you, Canada's main beef source. Pardon me, we got a lot of pages here. We produce beef, veal, pork, lamb, mutton, goat, rabbit, horse, venison, and bison. Approximately 1.55 million tons is produced in Canada alone each year. This year, we've produced a quarter of that. We're having shortages across the board, as you're aware. The weather last year, the droughts, and then the water shortages caused farmers to be hit. So they systematically started there. Then they went to the cattle. So cattle was backlogged because COVID came in. And if you're aware, Cargill High River had 3,000 employees get COVID, one of which died, and it was all over the news, because they worked side by side in the facilities. So we've got these plants and Cargill shut down for 3 weeks at that time. So now we have a backlog of cattle. We have feed shortages, backlogs, farmers can't get feed. So they went to the United States and they imported 1.1 million tons of maize from September 2021 to January 2022. So, and all this information I'm giving you, you can check. It's real. I've done all my research. I'm not talking out my ass. Well, kind of, but not really. But what happened was they went to the States and asked them for feed. They imported maize. And since January 2022, we haven't been able to get any more. So now we've got a backlog of cattle. The farmers who are raising the cattle now go to sell the beef at a way lower cost than what they would originally do, so they're hitting them. They're losing money. The cattle's backlogged. The meat is fresh. We're not being able to feed them, so they're starving the animals. Then they hit the plants. People are getting sick. They're dividing the plants. They're shutting them down. CFIA is inspecting the meat, but they've reduced some of the inspection things that they do. So the meat that we're getting isn't what it should be. It's affecting. They're having recalls on, well, today was sausage. They are recalling sausage from all the stores. Sunset Farms, that was one of the recalls today. So we're having product shortages across the board, and they're saying that due to labor shortages, we're having product shortages. And then they say due to transportation costs, we're having product shortages. So they're putting out all these false things to blame the real effects of which COVID and everything else happened. So I decided to look deeper, and I'm telling you the story of why I got involved in this and why I decided to research, why I'm actually standing here today risking my business, because if the people that I work for find out, I could become a threat, or I could get pulled from them, my major customers, for telling the truth. So what I'm saying is that they go and they tell us that there's feed shortages, there's meat issues, all this other stuff, and there is, but they blame all these other things for it, like drivers. They're saying there's driver shortages. Well, why is there driver shortages? Are you aware that in the last 6 months, in Manitoba alone, over 1,000 individuals have passed the murder test to get their Class 1 driver's licenses, and they've gone to go do their test, but they can't get a test, do their driving test. So MPI turns around and says, well, we're going to do as many tests every month as we can. In July, they said they did 500 tests. But when you go look, the majority of people spoke up because they canceled a whole bunch of tests due to weather, and then they put the people back at the line. So the way that they have planned the fall of what we're going to see happen is and it's systematic. They're like Paul said, they're extremely smart, and the way they're breaking us down and taking the food off our shelves is the most diabolical, systematic event that I've ever seen and researched in my life. What they've done is they've hit every product and plant facility. First they started in the United States, and I'm not sure if you're aware what happened, but they hit facilities by closing them down, and they decided to close them down by fire. So we had Kellogg's in the United States burned down. We had Cargo Nutrina plant burnt down, and this is in the last 6 months. Louis Dravis Company, which is the soybean processing and biodiesel plant, is the largest soybean plant in the U.S. suspended production due to fires. The poultry processing plant in Hamilton had a fire, shut down. In March, Penettsburg McCrum, which is a potato processing plant in Belfast, Maine, destroyed by fire. 50,000 acres destroyed by fire. In Canada, they had an explosion in the Centre de Valorisation Industrial Food Prep and Processing Facility in Sherbrooke, Quebec. An explosion shut the whole facility down. In March, Maricopa Food Pantry, 50,000 pounds of food burned due to a fire. Rio Fresh onion processing plant burned down to the ground from fire. Shearer's Food Plant, which is potato chips and corn chips, burnt down to the ground from fire. San Antonio Food Processing Plant closed from fire. JBS US Beef Plant, that's the head plant for JBS here in Canada, Grand Island, Nebraska, halted its operations. Fire. Patok Meat Production in Austell, Georgia, August 2021, the biggest fire. Shut them down. They've never recouped. In July, River Valley Ingredients Plant in Huntsville, Alabama, fire. July 2022, Kellogg Factory in Memphis, fire. Deli Stars Production Facility, meat manufacturers, fire, burnt them down. They are now saying that any more damage to the food industry and processing plants will create such a large ripple effect, we're going to starve. So they've hit all our products. We're now having chicken shortages because there's no antibiotics for it or no feed material. In Canada alone, there is 6,400 logistics, either main level dispatchers or logistics coordinators who specialize in import and export jobs across the board in Canada alone. How does that happen? Where did everybody go? We've got companies like Walmart, Sobeys, Lafarge, Rosano, DTC, Giant Tigers, the Herb Groups, Shipco Transport Coordinators, Hino Motors, Tip Top Trailers, U.S. Ecology Transportation, Great Latte, Trail Appliances, Tongue Air Transport, American Iron and Metal, Cook Incorporated, Lowe's Canada, Mold Masters. Now we're looking at aluminum shortages. And when you have aluminum shortages, you can't make cans for the canned foods. This is happening across North America. They're saying that we're having plastic shortages, that we're not going to be able to make water bottles. If you target each and every production facility responsible for one main ingredient for people to survive, then they can take it down. they have systematically taken apart everything we need to survive. They are creating backlogs of livestock, pushing consumers to panic buy. They are not telling you the truth about what products are missing. So with beef, we're missing tenderloin. You're not going to be able to find tenderloin anywhere. With chicken, it's being poisoned. Actually, they're poisoning all our food, but what they're doing is they're removing products from the shelves. And if you go into a store, say you go to like Lowe's or something, and you need something from a hardware store, usually the shelves are in Rona, they're packed solid, and then they have product behind. Well, it's all empty. I went in to get, back in the 70s with your grandparents, if you went over to their house, they put plastic runner carpets over their carpets, you know, to protect from dirt and dirty shoes. I went in to get a roll, just a piece off of a roll in Rona, and they had none in the back. I went to Superstore 4 days ago to get water, and I got the last 3 cases of the cheapest water. They had a sale for $1.99, and they're one of my customers, and they had nothing in the warehouse in the back. So I had 19 shipments from Versacold, and if you're a trucker, you're familiar with them. That's Cavendish Farms or French fries, frozen potatoes. And Walmart's are rejecting products saying that they're having capacity issues. So now what happens is these shipments have to go back because we're not going to hold them in transport trucks. You can't hold frozen product for 2 weeks. So now they got to go back to either the vendor or they're going to another facility and they're holding them and they're never getting delivered to the stores. So then they say, well, we're having labor issues. Okay, so we're having labor issues. So you're telling me that the transport drivers are bringing the product to the facilities. There's no one to offload it. There's no one to take it from the facilities that you're bringing it to, the warehouses, to take it to the store. Well, why is that? Where are all these shortages coming from? So they're talking about it. They're saying that there's all these shortages. And then I look at everything and I go, well, if you need to get food to the stores so that the shelves aren't empty, then why aren't we doing what we need to do to get it there? And if it means taking it in your frickin' car to get it there, you get the food there. So they have reduced the amount of people working in the warehouses. They've reduced the amount of people working in the production facilities because with COVID, they said that we have to, 6 feet apart you gotta stand? 6 feet apart. So somewhere like High River, Cargill, in production lines, they're right beside each other. They've reduced the amount of people working in all the facilities because of the 6 feet so that they can't produce as much. They've attacked the facilities and they've made it mandated that you're either vaxxed or you can't work there, right? You lose your job. So in all reality, if you look at the big picture, well, we're having labor shortages because the mandates say that you can't work unless you're vaxxed. And I'm sure that there's a lot of vaxxed people here. Is there vaxxed people here? There's some vaxxed people here? Well, whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed, the end result's gonna be the same for everybody. It doesn't matter. So they cause separation with the vaccine. They cause confusion with the vaccine. They cause production shortages with the vaccine. They cause misinformation with the vaccine. Do you know in Kelowna and Vernon, and I don't know if you can all see this, I should have made a bigger one. This is what the store shelves look like in the meat sections. And that's not just in Kelowna and Vernon, that's in a lot of places around Canada where there's no food. So we don't get to hear about the shortages on the news, they're hiding it. They are systematically poisoning our food. Have you heard that story about putting a magnet up to your meat? And what's that for? That's right, the metals and the lead that they're injecting into everything that we eat or drink. They are systematically breaking down every part that humanity needs in able to survive. So our lands are getting attacked with the droughts. You can't really grow anything. The produce isn't that great. most of the people that are farmers or producing things have lost all their crops. So there was a company out in BC that did potatoes, and in a week he gives away potatoes weekly because his crops, they're not rotten, but it's not good enough to sell. So instead of throwing it all out, he's been giving free potatoes to everybody so that at least he can at least help feed people. He's not going to get any money, and he's going to lose his business. So this is what's going on. Most of these facilities are closing down because their losses from the drought or COVID or the mandates or labor costs are causing them to not be able to afford to keep the productions going of our products to keep us fed. So back to what I was saying about the jobs. If you systematically take down logistics coordinators like I do, because I deal with the manufacturers the direct. I'm not a dispatcher for a trucking company. I deal with all the manufacturers and the production people direct, and they hire me and I hire the trucks. And I do the scopes, and I do all the procedures and policies and everything like that, and I do all the appointments to make sure that the food gets to the stores. That's what I do. And those people at all those facilities who arrange logistics or transportation, whether it be sea, air, ground, they're missing. So that's why I decided to look into it deeper. They have removed them all, of course, again, from the mandates, and we don't have any people to import or export. Not for the companies that, like seafood, meats, plastic, steels. What happened in Pakistan, Pakistan's the second largest producer of steel in the world. And they have now been subjected to the flooding, and they're not going to be able to recover right away. These are all going to cause delays in production of products and tools and what we need to get food to the stores. So with aluminum shortages, we're going to have canned food shortages. And with beef products, and I'm sure you already know that the meat's getting very expensive. You can't go to the store and get a good steak. It's like $45 for 2 steaks now. So they've increased the costs across the board, and they will do everything humanly possible, from what I see, to make sure that we have nothing left. Fire destroyed the Azer Standard plant in Oregon, which is US's largest independent food distribution, and for Canada, which means there's no honey, no oil, no vinegar. What you see in the stores is all that's getting transported. That's it. And what's left in the warehouses, they can't make anymore. There is no beet sugar on this planet anywhere. It's completely unavailable. I haven't shipped any. Right now what's shipping is sugar, oilseed, rotten apples, rotten plums, rotten oranges. And if you go to the produce section of any grocery store, you can see that your produce, it's nothing like it used to be. The cucumbers, I don't know if you do it, but I squeeze my cucumbers when I go into a store to check how fresh it is. They're all rotting. The shelf lives of product have become non-existent. The trucking companies are being crippled. Transportation costs, yeah, they've gone up, but fuel prices behind it, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A year ago, how many trucks are you shipping out of Alberta of beef?
I was doing 50 shipments a week
How many now?
from 2 plants. In the last 2 weeks, 1 plant, none. The other plant, on the weekend, I did 4.
Oh my
From 50 a week.
Wow.
50 a week, they're not producing it. So then I was like, what's happening? Did I lose this lane? Am I I thought it was me. Am I being punished? Have I done something in a logistics perspective to maybe lose the lane, and maybe it's gone to somebody else who's charging cheaper to move the stuff? I spoke to them, and they said that they don't have enough product. They said they had half a truck of product and could not justify moving that and paying for it to go to the stores. And that came from the facility in High River. They have no product. Right now, the states, and if you're aware of them, they're having food crises across the board. So with aluminum being a shortage, with plastic being a shortage, and aluminum's for cans, plastics for water, we will have water shortages. It's coming. There are going to be shortages of everything. We're not going to be able to get it to the stores. Truck drivers, and I know there's a lot of you here, you know what I'm talking about. You know that it's getting increasingly harder to get parts for your vehicles, increasingly harder to get fuel at decent prices. Right now they've lowered the prices. The prices are going to go back up soon. Fuel is going to skyrocket again. Nobody can afford to do what we need to do. So with trucking companies, they're closing down. When we had that, the highway in BC, when the highway collapsed and there was closures and we had to get product to BC, we were moving them in transit, which means we were shooting down through the States and then coming back up through Canada. So we would cross in the States, come back up through the Canada border into BC and bring the product in that way. So when that happened, we seen increase and rising amounts of money in a lot of trucking companies. They gouged the prices. The rates, people were getting paid $30,000 to move a load from BC to Toronto. And I'm sure you all know this if you're trucking, that they were gouging. Which is the sad thing, because when we gouge, everybody gets affected. So when you gouge, the market gets hit, prices exceed and excel, and then we start to not have anything. So when we gouge and they try to normalize it again after that, and what I seen happening was they gouged and we tried to normalize. Most of the lanes are normalized now, but with the way things are working, and I like to pride myself on paying the most to trucking companies for loads, I don't want to see anybody starve. So I deal in volumes so that I can pay more based on my loads, because I do so many that my profit margin is less, so that I can help out the starving truckers, I can help out the starving companies, and I can pay more so that we can try to bring up a little bit, well, if anything, morale, because our morale's being hit so hard, but try to bring up some kind of unity. And when I mean unity, I mean, and Paul talked about it, I think that unity is the key thing to beating them. I think that in the next 6 months, the shortages are going to be so high that you're not going to be able to get canned foods from the store. And you may be thinking, okay, well, what is she talking about when it comes to that? If they can systematically take our production plants out, and two of the plants, by the way, on different ends of North America, one was hit by a plane, killing everybody. Plane fuel, as you know, blows up everything, so the plant couldn't survive. 3 days later, another plant, a plane. One, okay, coincidence, planes crash all the time. Two, no. They are systematically burning down, blowing up, or crashing into all the main food processing plants across North America. In the last 6 months, 79 of the largest production facilities in Canada and the United States have been targeted and systematically taken down. Now, everybody shops at Walmart, right? Walmart facilities across Canada, and they're open the latest. I think they're open till 11 o'clock in all the cities. I've been to Walmart. You've been to Walmart. Has anybody been to Walmart where they haven't seen anything on the shelves? They're missing product of some kind? Right? They denied all their shipments of frozen or meat, so that all had to be sent back. Why would they reject product and say they were having capacity issues? This is just Walmart. I can name several facilities, several main facilities that you buy from that have rejected product so that it's not in the store. Yes, Paul?
How many rejections are you getting?
How many rejections are we getting?
In BC.
Well, in BC, One of the Walmart stores in 4 days rejected 19 loads of food and meat. And this is confirmed because 9 of them were my loads and 10 were other people that I work with. So that's Walmart, Sobeys, and each store like Sobeys, Loblaws owns superstores, they own Extra Foods, what else do they own? Shoppers Drug Mart, Save On Foods, I think, and what's the other one? Yes. They're the only ones who wouldn't comment, and I'll tell you right now that they are my biggest client, and I do the biggest amount of shipments for them, and I know what's shipping with them, and I do produce, and there's no cross-border shipments from Mexico, by the way. That's completely shut down. Nothing is coming in through Mexico. So when this kind of thing happens, and we see shortages in this magnitude, and no one to control it, no one to help with it, and logistics shortages, driver issues, parts issues. So the picture I'm trying to paint for you is that there's shortages in drivers, shortages in trucks, shortages in trucking parts, high costs of diesel fuel. Do you know that Chevron isn't producing anything right now? Diesel oil. Chevron, you guys must know that. So looking at that, looking at the cost of transportation, because the cost of transportation for the facilities that are producing our product, they're having difficulty paying for transportation costs. So that's an issue, transportation costs. Labor shortages, although I don't believe in labor shortages. There's plenty of people.
Yeah.
But again, the mandates, and with the, how do I want to put that? With the, I'm not saying communist, but the dictatorship in this country from Justin Trudeau, and the way that he has set things up and the way it's being controlled, is a clear indication to me. And if you look at the big picture and if you're awake and you do your research, you're going to recognize and realize that this is happening, and it's happening right in front of your faces. So with the recalls, and there was a recall the other day where they recalled from the dollar stores, and they sent the ECG in to test products, and they said that 1 in 4 of the products at the dollar stores, and everybody shops at dollar stores, I mean I do too, it's cheaper, you get a lot of things. 1 in 4 of the products, the lead that was put into the products, like kids' headphones, that's one of them, had 75 times the amount of lead in the kids' headphones than would normally be, and they've tested the products. One of the products had 3,000 times the amount of lead. So we're getting lead, we're getting all these attacks on our products with poisoning of the food, and if you go into the stores and you look at, some people look at the packaging and you can see what the ingredients is in your food. And who was it that said we were going to eat cockroaches?
Yeah.
That's right. So what do we do? Well, my suggestion would be, and this is my solution, people like me have to come out and talk about where we see the shortages and tell the truth about the shortages, for one. 2, you need to find things that have a shelf life, like flour, rice, and I'm speaking from the heart here. For some time now, I've been buying flour, rice, chickpeas, anything with a long shelf life, and start stocking up on it. With the people that are being hit, and the people that are losing the ability to produce, like Labatt Breweries, and as you're aware, in British Columbia right now, they're having a strike, and there is no liquor. All the liquor stores. Not only that, it's a cycle, so it's affected the restaurants. Restaurants have had to change menus and whatever to try. Everybody likes to have a cocktail when they go out for dinner, so restaurants are losing business. So it's like a financial hit across the board against all of us. But my concern is the people, and how do we feed ourselves? So Paul had suggested seeds and buying seeds, and I don't want to be the loom gloom, and I don't want to speak from a loom gloom perspective. I want to speak from a survival perspective. How can we survive? We can survive by building our own greenhouses, which I think we're going to have to do, above ground, and getting seeds. And they're going to stop the distribution of seeds for you to buy anything or grow anything. And they've spoken very openly about this already. And that's going to be one of their tactics. So, I mean, growing greenhouses above board, keeping your food in facilities where you're not at risk of theft, because when this hits, and it's going to hit soon, we're going to see people, the violence is going to be, you know, it's
Pandemonium.
we don't have to be like this. We can be above this. We can survive. We can fight them and we can survive. And like Paul said, unity, but not unity, not just unity, truth, responsibility, and compassion. So if we were to stand together and find solutions and counteract all their attacks and everything that they do, I believe we can work together and stand together to not only protect those among us, but those who cannot protect themselves. Human beings who need us in Canada, and stand here for them as well. So when I say that, and I mean counteract, I mean, I'm in the position where I get extra skids of product, shortages or rejections. So what I've already started in the back scenes is I've started organizing private facilities to take this product to, and frozen, not fresh. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep fresh product because it doesn't have long shelf lives. Frozen and dry, I'm going to start collecting, which I have, and organizing plants across Canada, private facilities, not government regulated or government owned, and start housing it so that when shit hits the fan, we can feed the people of Canada and get as much out to them as humanly possible to make sure that nobody starves and nobody goes down under this regime. So when you ask for solutions, and Paul spoke about a think tank, if you can counteract every one of these things that these sons of bitches are doing to Canadian people and people around the world, then we can take, well, our country back, but most off we can take the freedom and integrity of human beings back and survive whatever they decide they want to throw at us. So when he says unity and he says join together, I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard at all. If I can stand here in front of everyone and say, I'm willing to fight. I'm standing here because I want to be free. I'm standing here because I believe in freedom. I believe in the right to live, the right to choose, the right to feed ourselves, and they can try and control whatever they want. It's not anger, it's not resilience, it's not war that's going to help. It's not going to change anything, it's going to make it worse. It's unity and responsibility, compassion, love, and freedom that's going to change this world. That's going to change all the people here. You have to care. You guys care. You're here to listen. You're here to educate yourselves. Each and every one of you have something very specific that you can give or you can do to ensure that humanity continues to strive and we're able to survive what they're going to throw at us. So, yeah, think tank, totally agree. Because I tell you, what they have systematically planned, I told Paul, I'm in awe, to be that intelligent and that genius, to do this and attack all these things that we need to survive. It's diabolical, but it is so genius that when I started digging and I started looking at how they're moving it, how they're doing it, how they're attacking transportation, how they're attacking our foods, how they're attacking people, I was like, they've got it planned. They have backup after backup after backup. So we need to have backup after backup after backup. And we can come out here and we can stand and we can scream and yell and voice our opinions, and that's wonderful. But we need to take action. And we need to take action now. So I'm creating these little food banks or whatever. Not food banks, but these things, because that food just gets tossed out so I can find a use for it. The customers are saying, all my customers say, you can either dispose of it or donate it. So I'm going to organize, and I've organized quite a bit actually already behind the scenes. And this is the first time I've publicly spoke about this, so that I don't have to worry about them trying to dismantle it. And I'm going to make sure that there's food and everything there. And, you know, I often think back, like, in the 70s when we used to go out, we would ride our bikes and play in trees, and the way that we were all with one another, and it was a much safer world. And I mean, it was just as corrupt back then as it is now. The only difference is all the corruption that we see and that's happening, and the attacks on our humanity, it's done out in the open, so you can't deny it. It's right in front of our faces. They sit there and they tell you right in front of your face. So it's my hope that with everything that I see and that I do, I'm going to attack transportation, and I've been fighting with transportation to try to do as much as I can to lower prices, transportation costs. I mean, the drivers get attacked so badly all the time, and I stand behind the drivers because they work so hard. If you knew what they endured, the wait times at these facilities to offload, and the demeaning, you know, like when they first started out, when all this happened, everybody was like, oh yeah, drivers, wonderful, you know, risking themselves to get essentials to the stores, and they were the pride of Canada. And then you see with the convoy, what they did to them was unacceptable. These people stood up to protect everyone after being called heroes for putting themselves out there without proper PPE, with all the long hours, subjecting themselves to all the crap that they did. What did they do for them? They opened up their driving hours. They didn't enforce ELD logs when they were doing essentials. They didn't enforce a lot of things, and they had like open people along the highways to help feed them and places for them to go to the bathroom and stuff. You know, that was noble. But then when they go and try to defend this country and go in front of all those people, they get knocked down, bashed. People in this country should be ashamed of themselves for doing what they did to the Freedom Convoy. The Freedom Convoy had the respect and freedom. They had no fear doing what they were doing to protect us and to stand by us. And what do? Do we stand with them? No.
Yeah, we do.
We didn't stand with them. We didn't watch them go down. We didn't do any of that. The police said, oh yeah, I'm resigning because, you know, I believe in this, and I stand with them. At the end of the day, they did nothing for them. They didn't even represent them. The media tried to take them down. The man who we call our prime minister tried to take them down. He doesn't deserve to even have that title. He's not even Canadian as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. When you're hired into a position by the very people who put you there, and you absolutely refuse to listen to the people that you're governing, you don't exist. So that's how we beat him. He doesn't exist anymore. Justin Trudeau does not exist. Yeah. You don't give him the control and the power. You don't let him try and tell us. What did he say? He said in the fall, if 95% of the Canadian people have not been given and received the next booster or been vaccinated, he's going to start implementing restrictions and mandates again. How do you stop him? Do you fight with him?
Do not comply.
You say no.
Yes.
You stand together, you get unified, and you don't do it from a place of anger or violence.
Yes.
You fight him with
love,
unity, responsibility, and stand together as one. So if we can stand together and join as a group and fight him, because I'm very proud to be Canadian.
Yeah.
I'm proud of this country. I love this country. I love all the people of this country. To me, there's no race, there's no color, there's no culture. If we can get to the theory that we're one people, under one veil, and that veil's freedom, we can take back this country, we can live harmonious, and we can be all rich just for being human.
Yes.
Because if they distinguish humanity, I mean, what are your children gonna have? I don't want my grandchildren to grow up in this. This is a regime that we need to fight with, counteracting their every move. So they want to starve us? That's what I'm doing. I'm taking food from all over and I'm going to start stockpiling it so that we have food and we can feed the hungry so that they don't have to starve. You stock up on whatever you can, and if your neighbor's starving, then you feed them. You do whatever's possible to counteract their every intention. They want you to get vaccinated? No, don't get vaccinated. They want you to get a booster? No, don't get a booster. You want to enforce mandates? Well, they have to enforce mandates on willing people. We don't let them enforce the mandates. You know, you want, they've militarized our police. Our own Winnipeg police, they've militarized them. I'm going off on a tangent now, I'm sorry. They've militarized our police. We need to stand up and recognize that, one, the people who stand up for us are the very people that I want to stand beside.
Yes.
I want to stand by all those truckers, all those farmers, all those people who put themselves out there for our freedoms and our rights that we maybe not recognize the way we should have. Because those are the heroes, those are the people that I want to be with in Canada. Not these people who sit there and try and take down everything we do. What did Trudeau say? Called them a fringe, right? Fringe minority?
Yeah.
He's a fringe minority.
Yeah.
He's the fringe. He is the one who's responsible for all the negative and the crappy things that are happening to Canadians now. So, I mean, is it a new election, or what does the Charter of Rights say? The Charter of Rights says that if he is found to be incompetent, that we can remove him. Well, they didn't do that. I know that they went to the Attorney General and the Governor General to try to remove him. That didn't happen. I know that the Charter of Rights says that we can have freedom of speech. I know the Charter of Rights said that we could congregate in Ottawa. He had no right to remove them. You guys were not a threat. He brought in the Emergency Act procedure to strip you down so that you would lose hope and faith in what those guys stood there and believed in. And I stood by, and I had many friends there because I'm in trucking, and I watched them. They froze. I mean, it was what, minus 20, minus 30? And they were out on the streets. Nobody was being violent. Everybody was being loving and caring. And that's who Canadians are. They have misrepresented us. That's not who we are. And I'm not here to say today to you, fight in a physical, violent way. No, that's not going to work. People in positions like me need to start educating everybody and need to start talking. We need to start telling the truth. So if anything, I hope that we'll join a little bit more, love a little bit more, understand a little bit more, because these shortages are real. People are going to be affected severely, and they're coming fast. And if you can't can foods, how are you going to put them in the stores? You know, when they first took plastic bags out of the stores, I was like, okay, so no plastic bags, but they're going to put paper bags. Which, did anybody question that? I was like, okay, so we're going to start making paper bags and kill all the trees. What would that be for? What are they trying to do? So if you think and you counteract everything that they do, we can win. So with logistics, thank you. So we can win, we can unify, we can win, and it really doesn't take much, and it's right in front of our eyes. It's just talking like this, educating, speaking out, but it's caring and compassion and love, not just for being Canadian, but for every Canadian. And you have to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. And you know, I watched this one lady say that, you know, and my sons are all vaxxed, and that's very hard, and I'm not vaxxed, and I have beliefs. But I don't argue with the vaxxed anymore. I did in the beginning. I don't argue with them anymore. The only thing you can do is say, okay, and respect their point of view, because you want people to respect our point of view.
Yes.
So you can't ask for freedom and deny anybody else's freedom.
Absolutely.
To choose anything else. You have to make sure when asking for freedom that it's an open freedom, not just directed at one thing. So with the vax people, you just let them, either they're going to wake up or they're not. You love your neighbor, you love your kids who are vaccinated, you love your friends who are vaccinated. You don't have to hate. We need to take that separation, because that's directed to systematically affect everything else. You need to take that separation out. You need to stop the segregation and unify, and I believe we can unify. I don't believe we are going to lose. And with hope and direction and identities,
Yeah.
full identities, there's nothing wrong with sticking up for yourself. I'm not going to go and shoot somebody because they don't understand my opinion. You can either listen to me or you don't have to. I respectfully understand that. That took me a while to understand, though. I used to have debates and fights with people and get angry, and I lost a lot of friends because of that. I don't anymore. Understand that the vax people do not see things in our way. They don't even recognize the issues. I believe that from the vaccine, they got to be living in another reality. They will wake up, if they wake up, on their own time. Love them, accept them, and move on without any violence, without any anger. Once you release all that anger and resistance to all the things that are negative, you're going to feel much better. And we're going to be able to do things. There's lots of things we're going to be able to do. And I'm telling you today that we're entitled to freedom. They can't take it away. They can only take our freedom away if we let them. So let's stop them from doing that. Let's not let them take our freedom. So I want to be free. I am free, and we're all free. Yes, Paul.
All these rejected trucks, where's all that product going?
That product for the rejected trucks are either going back to the facilities that they came from, and less than half is going back. The rest of the product that's being rejected is being destroyed. It's being taken to the garbage. They say to either donate or dispose. The majority of the product that isn't making to the stores is being disposed of. That I know for sure. So when they tell you, and that's what they do, and that's what's given me the upper edge, is the ability to choose between dispose or donate. I'm not disposing and I'm not donating. I'm holding, and I'm going to start creating facilities across Canada so nobody suffers, so that I can take away the starving and I can do what's necessary. So yes, think tank. So that's my thought process. That's my one gift. Yes? Oh, my one gift. So if I can do that, then everybody here can do something and benefit and do whatever. And if it means putting a can aside a week for your neighbor or for that person that you're going to be around, because people are going to starve. And when people starve, they'll fight, they'll break in, they'll cause all kinds of stuff, they'll kill for food. I'm not going to watch anybody suffer, and I don't know how anybody else can let that happen. So if I'm going to create that, and I'm going to do that, and I have the ability to take that food that they are going to destroy, and I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to make sure that we get it, and that we have it, and we can use it, each and every one of us can do that. Each and every one of us can educate other people to do the same things. Don't do the food drives. Don't go giving it to, I mean, still give to whoever. You know, like I volunteer, I give to Harvest, whatever. Those are good places. I have been giving water to the shelters and the hospice. Make sure you arm yourself not only with knowledge, but with compassion for others.
Yeah.
Because we're all fighting for the same thing in the end.
Yes.
Yes, Paul?
You have to be vaxxed to go to Harvest.
What?
You need a QR code to get in Harvest Hospital.
Do you need a QR code for what?
The food banks, you gotta be vaccinated. to
Yes.
get into the food bank.
That's why with the food banks, because you have to be vaccinated, and they're going to mandate that you give whatever that code is. What do they call it? A vaccine pass. Is it a vaccine pass? Well, they can stick their vaccine pass up their asses, because I don't really care. Because I'm going to have facilities that you don't need a pass or a mandate or a QR code to get food. And when they start implementing this, we better be prepared. And everybody better get together to make sure, like I said, you counter-attack everything they're going to do to us. Everything. They're listening through all our cell phones. I hope they're having a great day in discussion today, listening to us. No fear, no anger, resilience, no belief. We have one belief, one people, take away all the segregation, and it's going to be very hard to do because, let's face it, people are stereotyped. I'm Italian. I've been called a wop all my life. You know, what do they call Germans? Nazis. Italians, wops. East Indians, packies, right? It's all stereotyping. We need to start re-educating everyone with terminology that's acceptable and not degradable anymore.
Yep.
So I hope that, if anything, we can structure Canada in a way that nobody has to be hurt or harmed anymore. Yes, Paul? Oh. And as far as food shortages and stuff are concerned, I can tell you that cheese is going to be very hard to get. Right now you're seeing lots of sour cream, lots of milk. Prices are going to go up. Inflation's going to happen more. It's going to cost more and more and more to get food, and we're going to see more shortages. Get what you need. Start changing your menus. My thought process is that and for what I've seen, you know that your beef is being affected. We're getting lead poisoning. We're getting metal detection and everything. Make sure you check everything. Make sure you check the food quality. And just be safe. And just, you know, be aware. And I know you all are. And facilities are shutting down, and they're shutting down in mass form and in mass volumes. But we can find solutions to overtake all of these things that are so vital to our survival as a country. Whether you're vaxxed or not, it's your choice, and no one has the right to instill fear, false numbers, or false statistics. We all know the agenda, and they actually think we're going to crumble. If we counteract their every move peacefully and take away the control, they cannot extinguish us. They cannot make us feel like a fringe minority, because we're not. We can take our country back with the love and strength and numbers to take care of one another, if we can get there, and I believe we can. We can take away their control and fear without violence or storming any office, without breaking the laws or trying to make profits from the hardships of others. If we stand together now, I've seen it before, without their prejudice, and this will be from a level that they will not expect, that they will not see coming. We need to not respond to them any longer. I believe that if we ignore them and find systems and put things in place that's not governed, that we can survive and we can take our country back. And I believe we will.